I'm Margaret Frondorf. I'm the Director of SAIS Alumni Relations. It's April 12th, 2012, and I'm here with Carmine Gorga, who is a member of the Bologna class of 61 and the SAIS class of 62. And we're here to talk a little bit about your experiences, Carmine, at SAIS. And I wanted to ask you, what brought you to SAIS?
Yes, very important question. First, thank you for inviting me, thank you for gently prodding me to come here. I generally stay away from functions like this, but I found it very, very enjoyable, very enlightening as well. And I might add that once you sent me the little note of how you were going to introduce me, I said, oh my God, I never saw my life like this. Truly, absolutely. And it's absolutely true, I never counted the publications. So it was great of you. And I said, oh, well, now I can feel a little more secure. And I really did wonders to myself. So what brought me to Washington was Bologna, and before Bologna was the University of Naples, where the first chair in political science was established in the world. And by the way, the University of Naples is also the University of St. Thomas Aquinas, Benedetto Croce, Giambattista Vico. The son-in-law of Benedetto Croce was my teacher at the University of Naples. I was there for 3 years in political science, and words and words and words and words, and I said, oh, but professor, please do give me a topic for my dissertation which I can chew. And I don't want words that I try to grab and they disappear. Give me some topic like that. He thought, I don't remember whether immediately on the spot or later on, and he said, I think I have a topic that you will enjoy. And that was the thought of Louis de Brandeis. To me, that was a revelation, that was an opening to the modern world. Incredibly important person. You can go to Google or wherever you learn more, but what you'll never learn, neither in Google nor in things that have been published about him, is the fact that he acceded the Supreme Court, nominated by Wilson, in a huge struggle in the Congress and so on, approved. He was 56. You know, his intellectual life was almost finished. It was not a beginning. And so lawyers look at the Louis de Brandeis as the justice of the Supreme Court. Understandable. And they forget what comes before, which is the struggle against the robber barons, against J.P. Morgan and Company. And there he wrote, but he never wrote a book. He wrote essays where he basically made us understand how the industrial society is put together. Is that fundamental?
And how did that weave towards your attending the Bologna Center?
Because my dissertation got the Council of Europe Scholarship. When the Bologna Center heard that I had done this work on Brandeis, and so immediately accepted my application. So I entered the wind tunnel of scholarships. From there, finished there, studying under Professor Mandel. And other people like that, fantastic experiences, you know. And then from there, of course, I applied for the SAIS here. So my major interest in coming to SAIS was to study Louis de Brandeis, deeper Louis de Brandeis. Instead, no, I ran into institutional difficulties that, you know, I had to follow the courses. And there was no course in Louis de Brandeis, you know. So, okay, hold on. Finish what you have to do. That's your duty now. You're here. You have to do what other people want you to do, and God will take care. And so God did take care, because then I finished here. Did I say I was a Fulbright student as well? Okay, but the problem there was that the Fulbright compelled me to go back to Italy for 2 years. The first 15 days of work with A.C. Nielsen in Milan were absolutely delightful. A new world. How do marketing people, see the world, understand the world, they put it together, and so on and so forth. After the 15 days, the boss arrives, puts his feet on the table, hands behind the head, never says hello, never says welcome, or anything like that, and my heart began to cook. Colder and colder and colder, saying, what is this world? What is this world? And so as soon as I finished the 2 years, I came back. I came back as a tourist.
So when you finished your 2 years at SAIS,
Yes.
focus a little bit on the Bologna Center. Tell me some of your fondest memories in the year that you were in Bologna.
Yeah. New world. The modern world versus Naples, which, as I mentioned, is the door to Asia, but also the door to the past. Naples is in the past, lives in the past. I go to Bologna, and not only Bologna, but Bologna Center, the Johns Hopkins. First, the entire world is there with me. I will not try to remember the names, but person from Japan, person from Sri Lanka, many from Germany, many from France, many from the United States. Common language, English, which I know how to read, strenuously, and how to write a bit, but not how to talk. So I mostly remain silent, but I go through and so on, and I pass all the courses, including Professor Mondell. So it was a kind of being in a wind tunnel where you had to go through, and it's a fantastic experience because it's not you, the wind pushes you through.
And all the way to Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Tell me about the experience here in Washington and that continuation, perhaps, of the internationalism.
Yes, absolutely. Again, I come here still silent in English. For the first perhaps 6 months, I did not dare to speak English because, as you see, my English is not so good, my pronunciation is not so good, etc., etc. But I am I think it's called Union Station, and there, while I am in Union Station, I hear a funny accent. And this guy is clearly from Tennessee, long beard, overalls, a briefcase which is square, and he goes and he talks. And I say, my God, if he can talk, I can talk. And then I rationalize it a bit, and I say, my God, this is the United States. There must be at least 50 accents. From now on, there will be 51. People, I'm sorry, I do my best, but I cannot do more than my best. So that was one of the experiences of SAIS. Wonderful, wonderful. Again, new life, etc., etc. And then the most challenging thing and the most wonderful thing that I got at SAIS was from Professor Thayer, that you have heard of. He was not my professor, but he was known as being old and wise and, caring and everything. So one day I am in the corridor of the old building, fairly dark, and I am in crisis personally. I see him along, and I say, Professor Thayer, I am in a crisis. He says, yes, I am in a crisis too. Shuffled, went out, away from me. And I say, my crisis, good for nothing, it doesn't exist anymore. He gave me self-reliance.
It's
You
Great
know.
story.
Yes, but once you know, I never quite put it together. I put it together once. You invited me here and you said, try to remember something about SAIS. What should I say? So I scratched my head and I said, that is what. And then the important thing from an intellectual point of view is that self-reliance is a great, fantastic thing. However, it's false. Unless you put into context of the community. And so what I've been doing intellectually is to build self-reliance, the importance of self-reliance, the base of it, but for communities, not for individual human beings, because that doesn't exist. It will never work, has never worked in the past, and will never work in the future. And yes, sorry.
Communities.
Yes, absolutely.
Can we just talk a little bit about your work in Gloucester? Because
yes.
that
Yes.
is your community that has benefited so much from your living and working there.
Absolutely. You know, one morning, I come back from Italy, driving back into Gloucester, 5 o'clock in the morning, alone, very quiet, very beautiful and everything. And I start singing. Say, questa pure è casa mia. This is also my house. You know, it's my house, my God, it's my house. And then looking back now, I've lived in Gloucester, you know, for more than I've ever lived in any other city or town or anywhere in the world, you know, anywhere. So that's the importance of community. So Gloucester enters my heart, first because there are plenty of Italians there. I never speak Italian in Gloucester because they speak Sicilian. And if they speak Sicilian, unless we translate into Italian, we cannot understand each other. You know, basically we cannot. You know, and it's another language.
How would you sum up your life's work?
First, let me put it in a positive way and a hopeful way. It's not finished yet. So far, I'm groping, you know, to find my way and to have other people understand where I am. You know, that is the struggle. That is at this moment. You know.
And part of your life's work
Yes.
are 3 wonderful publications. And I'm just going to move this video camera so we can see all 3 of these amazing books that Carmine Gorga has written and has inspired many through these books. So that was all part of your work as you lived in Gloucester these many years.
Yes, that is the past. You know, that is the past. Let me remind the audience, whoever is going to see this little sketch, of a story about Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill was introduced once, the MC, and the MC says, "You all know Sir Winston Churchill. How do you count all the beautiful things that he has done," and so on. Among other things that is less well known, and I should emphasize, is the fact that he drinks. He drinks a lot, he drinks well. How much? Oh, let me say that at least up to if we were to put all the drinks that he has drunk, would reach at least the lintel of this door. So Winston Churchill comes and he says, how to answer now, how to introduce myself to the audience, how to explain. And he looks at the vaults of the Tudor, you know, huge room, and he says, let me put it this way, that much has been done, that much more remains to be done. Absolutely wonderful. So what is more that remains to be done is my work in...
and I'm moving the camera to the work that remains to be done. And this is your amazing theory that if you can describe in a few words.
Very briefly, I have been drawing now the map of a new economic world. So you need a map, and the map is there, and there are components to that map, analytical and so on and so forth. But basically these are tools to guide people to navigate the economic world of today, which is not easy, not easy. It's very complex, very difficult. But I spent 40, 50 years to try to understand the interrelationships, and now trying to explain them in an easy way. And at times, one of my greatest joys, I taught very little, but one of my greatest joys was to teach a class to people who were, the afternoon class and so on and so forth, a 40-year-old coming to listen to me, etc., etc., etc. And he says, I did not know I knew that much economics. I say, yes!
And this leads me into my final question, and that is, what advice would you have for today's SAIS students?
Oh, yes. Don't be globalists, be localists.
Thank you, Dr. Carmine Gorga. We appreciate you being here at SAIS today at the Legacy Lunch on April 12th, but more importantly, we have celebrated your 50th year since graduating from SAIS, and we thank you now for participating in this oral history interview to revisit the history, your particular history, and your experience of SAIS. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.